They said it was just a joke, just a little makeover. But when the flames licked up the side of my face and I smelled the sickening singe of my own hair burning, I knew this wasn't a prank. It was hate. I remember the sound of their laughter echoing through the courtyard louder than my screams. And I remember the heat, not just from the fire, but from the shame that burned even deeper. My name is Rachel. I'm 17. And this is how I learned how cruel people can be, and how powerful truth can become. It was lunchtime. I had taken my usual spot at the far bench behind the cafeteria, half shade, half sun, just enough to feel normal. No one sat with me, not anymore. It used to bother me. Now I expected it. Ever since Tessa and her crew labeled me mophead because of my thick, curly hair, things had only gotten worse. They started small gum in my seat, calling me frizz freak, snickering during class. But over time, the cruelty escalated. And that day, they crossed a line they couldn't uncross. I had just opened my lunchbox when I noticed them circling too casual, too close. Tessa Brielle and Kenzie, always in formation. Tessa wore her signature smirk, the kind that made your skin crawl. She leaned in close behind me, whispering something I couldn't quite hear until I felt it. Heat, then pain, sudden, sharp. I screamed and flailed backward, dropping my fork and falling off the bench. My hair was on fire, literally. A small flame erupted behind my right ear, and in the chaos, I slammed my water bottle against it again and again until the sizzling sound stopped. They were laughing. "Oops," Tessa shouted, holding a lighter high like a trophy. "Guess you needed a makeover." My scalp stung. I could smell burnt protein. My knees were scraped from the fall, and worse, students were pulling out phones recording. Not to help, to capture it. I looked around, dizzy, barely able to stand. One teacher ran toward me finally. "Mr. Abrams." His expression froze between horror and disbelief as he yelled for help. By then the fire was out, but the damage was done. The nurse checked me for burns. "2nd degree," she said. Nothing life-threatening, but my hair on one side was singed nearly to the root. The humiliation, though, that was deeper. It was in the snickers I heard outside the door, in the texts I imagined flying across campus, in the eyes that refused to meet mine as I was led to the office. That moment, it changed me. I wasn't just Rachel anymore. I was the girl who got set on fire and cried like a baby in front of half the school. I didn't know it yet, but the pain they caused would soon become my weapon. And fire has a way of spreading. They say healing starts when the bleeding stops. But what if the wound is invisible, burning inside your chest, not your skin? After the nurse treated my scalp, I was sent home early. My mom's face when she saw me said everything. She didn't cry, she just went completely still, like someone had flipped her switch off. I couldn't even look her in the eye. The smell of burnt hair still clung to my hoodie, and no matter how many times I showered that night, I couldn't scrub it off my skin, or out of my memory. I locked myself in this bathroom after dinner. For nearly an hour, I just stared at myself in the mirror. One side of my hair, once long curly, my one feature I actually liked, was now jagged and patchy. The right side of my scalp had small red patches where the flames had kissed me. I touched them with trembling fingers, blinking back tears. It wasn't just the hair. It was what it symbolized. They did this to me because I existed. I tried to trace it back. Tessa used to be my friend in middle school. We weren't close, but we'd done group projects together. She even came to my birthday party in 8th grade. But sometime around 9th grade, she shifted. She found her crowd. And I didn't fit the look. No straight hair, no designer clothes, no Instagram-worthy selfies. Just me. I got quieter. She got meaner. I remembered the day she first made fun of me out loud. We were lining up after gym when she leaned in and said, "Your hair looks like a raccoon's been living in it." Everyone laughed. I laughed too nervously. That was my mistake. I taught her it was okay. Since then, the jokes got worse. They once threw a box of hair relaxer in my locker with a note that said, "Use this. It's not a suggestion." They made a fake account on TikTok pretending to be me posting videos titled, "Day in the Life of a Human Brillo Pad." But setting me on fire, that was something else. And still, no one stood up for me. Even the ones who watched. Even the ones who claimed they weren't part of it. They were silent. The next morning I wore a beanie to school. Not because I was cold, but because I was ashamed. My mom had wanted to go straight to the police. I begged her to wait. Something inside me, it wasn't forgiveness, it was humiliation. I wasn't ready to let the world know just how low they made me feel. In the hallways, I felt eyes on me, whispers, but no apologies, not even fake ones. Tessa and her friends walked past me like nothing happened, as if setting someone on fire was just another Tuesday. And worse, the school wasn't doing anything. I knew I had to speak up, but I was so used to being quiet, so used to surviving. I didn't realize I was about to be given something I never expected, a voice I hadn't known I had. The principal's office was cold, sterile. It smelled like stale coffee and old carpet cleaner. I sat in the too small plastic chair across from Mr. Hadley's desk, my beanie pulled low, my hands clenched in my lap. Mom sat next to me quiet, but I could feel the storm in her. She'd been demanding a suspension or better expulsion since we walked through the front doors. Mr. Hadley sighed and folded his hands. "Rachel, we're taking this matter seriously. I've spoken with Tessa and the other girls. They claim it was an accident, that someone lit a lighter and your hair caught unexpectedly." I froze. An accident. Mom leaned forward. "Are you seriously repeating that?" She was set on fire. "There's a video." "We haven't been able to obtain any footage," he interrupted. "No official school security captured the incident, and unfortunately without direct evidence." I blinked. My throat burned. I knew what this was: damage control. No one wanted the headline, "Student burned in on-campus attack." It was easier to call it a prank gone wrong. Sweep it under the rug, keep the bullies in school, protect the school's reputation. I saw Tessa holding the lighter, I whispered. She looked right at me. She said, "Oops, guess you needed a makeover." Mr. Hadley nodded slowly like he was indulging a child's story. "We'll continue investigating. In the meantime, we're recommending a mediation meeting with all parties." "I'm not sitting in a room with them," I snapped. "I'm not pretending this was a misunderstanding." He flinched at my tone. I didn't care. For once, I wasn't crying. I was angry. A new kind of anger, steady, clear. That day I went home more defeated than ever. The world felt like it had turned its back. Even the adults who were supposed to protect me. Even the system. I lay on my bed and stared at the ceiling, wondering if it would ever end. If I'd always be the girl who got burned. And then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I saw what really happened. "I have proof. Meet me behind the gym tomorrow. No one else." I stared at it for a full minute, heart pounding. Was this another trap? Another cruel joke? My first instinct was to delete it. But something about the message, it didn't sound mocking. It sounded serious. I typed back one word, "Why?" The reply came instantly, because I'm sick of pretending I didn't see it. I didn't know who this was, but in that moment I felt the first flicker of hope spark inside me. Not everyone had turned away. Maybe I wasn't alone after all. And maybe, just maybe, the truth wasn't buried yet. The next day I left lunch early. I walked the long way behind the gym past the dumpsters and the rusted-out bleachers no one used anymore. The wind tugged at my hoodie. My heart was thudding like I'd run a marathon, even though I was barely moving. I kept thinking, this could be a trap. What if it's Tessa? What if they're messing with me again? But when I turned the corner, I saw someone I never expected. Logan Alvarez. He was a junior, quiet, always sketching in the back of the art room. Never part of the drama. Never part of anything. I only remembered his name because we were lab partners once in biology, and he always smelled like cinnamon gum. He held up his phone as I approached. "I'm not messing with you," he said immediately. "I swear." "What is this?" I asked, eyes narrowing. He opened the video. And there it was. Me, sitting alone on the bench. Tessa creeping up behind me. The flick of the lighter. The deliberate contact. The sudden flare. Her voice clear as day. "Oops, guess you needed a makeover." The flames. My scream. Their laughter. Logan paused the video before I collapsed before it got worse. I stared at the frozen frame, Tessa mid-laugh, lighter still in hand. I felt sick. But I also felt something else. "Power. Where did you get this?" I whispered. "I was filming something else, just sketch references for art class," he mumbled. "Caught the whole thing by accident. I wasn't going to say anything at first. I mean, I didn't want to get involved, but his eyes met mine, and for the first time I saw guilt in them. I watched it over and over. Couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, If someone had done that to my little sister. He stopped. Didn't finish. Didn't need to. I reached out and gently took the phone from his hands. Can you send this to me? He nodded. Already did, and I backed it up, just in case. That night, I posted the video anonymously. I uploaded it to a student forum with no caption, just the title. Still think it was an accident. It spread like wildfire. By morning, it had over 8,000 views, then 30,000. Then it was on TikTok. Someone added slow motion. Someone else added the words attempted assault. People started tagging the school, the district, local news stations, and suddenly I wasn't invisible anymore. I watched the comments pour in. This is horrifying. How was she not expelled? That girl could have died. No joke. This is criminal. At school, the vibe had flipped. Tessa wasn't strutting anymore. She was hiding. Whispers followed her now. Someone spit in her locker. I didn't celebrate that, but I didn't feel bad either. By fourth period, I got called back to the office. This time, Mr. Hadley didn't smile. His face was pale. His hands shook as he said, "Rachel, we'd like to formally apologize. The district is opening an investigation. Tessa and her peers have been suspended pending disciplinary review." I didn't speak. I didn't need to, because this time my silence was louder than anything they'd ever done to me. I thought that getting justice would feel like fireworks, like the final scene of a movie with triumphant music and a slow-motion walk down the hallway while people stared in awe. But in reality, it felt more like breathing again after holding it in too long. It didn't happen overnight. The school launched a full disciplinary hearing. My mom hired a lawyer. Tessa's parents tried to twist the narrative again, claiming she wasn't in the right state of mind, that it was a dumb teen moment, not malice. But the video didn't lie. And this time, the world was watching. The district had no choice. Woi. 3 girls suspended indefinitely. Tessa was transferred to another school pending an expulsion hearing. But the fallout went further than that. I walked down the hallway and heard no laughter, no whispers behind cupped hands. People stared, yes, but not with mockery. With guilt. With respect. With questions they didn't dare ask out loud. I was no longer that girl who got burned. I was the girl who set fire to the lies. Some students messaged me anonymously apologizing. I saw everything and I didn't do anything. I'm sorry. Others tried to befriend me like it would wipe the slate clean. I wasn't rude. I just wasn't interested. Then one day, Logan sat with me at lunch. He didn't bring it up. He just handed me his sketchbook and said I tried to draw your curls before. I didn't do them justice. I flipped through the pages, dozens of quick portraits, each more accurate, more alive than the last. For the first time in weeks, I smiled without forcing it. Later that week, a local news team reached out. They wanted to feature my story. My mom was hesitant, but I said yes. I didn't want my face hidden behind pixels and voice filters. I wanted people to see me. All of me. The girl who was hurt, and the girl who stood back up. The segment aired on a Friday night. They included the video blurred my face in the worst moments, but let my voice speak the truth. I told them about the silence, about the teachers who looked away, about the classmates who watched. And I ended with this. It wasn't just about me. It's about every girl who's ever been made to feel small for looking different, for not fitting in. I want them to know you are not crazy. You are not alone. And your story matters. After the segment aired, my inbox flooded. Messages from girls I didn't even know across the country. Some had been bullied. Some just needed to hear someone say it out loud. I answered as many as I could. Because now I had a voice, and I wasn't going to waste it. My hair would grow back. The scars would fade. But what I'd become through all this, unbreakable. 6 weeks later, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror again. But this time it wasn't to cry. The right side of my head was shorter now, still uneven where the fire had licked it away, but I had let the rest of my hair go too. I had gone to a salon with my mom, asked them to chop it off into a bold pixie cut. Not to hide the damage, but to own it. It was my way of saying, you didn't destroy me. You gave me a reason to rise. As I stared at my reflection, I realized something. I looked different. But I also felt different. Sharper. More awake. Like something inside me had broken open and let light in. People at school had stopped talking. Not because they forgot, but because they knew the power had shifted. There were new rules now. No one dared pull their phones out to laugh at someone. Teachers were more alert. Students whispered louder when something seemed off. Tessa gone. Expelled. Her friends, too. Their social media accounts were either deleted or flooded with hate comments. I didn't feel bad, not really. They had set a girl on fire. They were lucky they got to walk away with just school consequences. But this wasn't just about punishing them anymore. It was about what came after. Logan and I talked more. We didn't become anything romantic, at least not yet, but we sat together almost every day. He listened without judgment, and he reminded me through quiet actions that good people still existed. A month after the video went viral, I was invited to speak at an anti-bullying assembly. Standing on that stage, microphone in hand, looking out at the same faces who once ignored me, my voice didn't shake. I used to think staying silent was safer, I said. But silence let them hurt me again and again. Speaking up saved my life. When I walked off stage, people clapped. Not because it was expected, but because they meant it. A few even stood. Later in the hallway, a younger girl with braces and frizzy bangs stopped me. I used to hide my hair too, she said. But now, I kind of like it. I smiled. Good, you should. She looked relieved. And then she walked away, head a little higher. I knew I'd never forget what happened to me, but I also knew I wasn't just a victim. I was a survivor. A fighter. And no one, not a bully, not a system, not even fire, could take that from me. I used to think that the worst part of being bullied was the pain, the isolation, the humiliation, the fear. But the truth is, the most damaging part was the silence. The silence of others. The silence I forced on myself. I believed that if I stayed quiet, they'd eventually stop. They didn't. What changed everything wasn't revenge. It was truth. It was one person choosing to do the right thing. It was me finally deciding that my voice mattered more than their approval. To anyone out there who feels invisible, who's been made to feel small, you are not alone. Your scars do not define you. Your strength does. Speak up, even if your voice shakes, even if no one listens at first. Because one day someone will. And when they do, your story might just light the way for someone else. Not all fire destroys. Some fires turn you into who you were meant to become.